What's up, everybody? I'm Gio with Carvalho Creations, and welcome back to Halloween time. Now, as the big day approaches, if you're anything like me, you're probably wondering, the hell am I gonna be for Halloween? Well, if that's the case, I got you covered. Because in today's video, I'm gonna be showing you how to make your very own Reagan illusion costume. Now, this is a pretty super inexpensive build, and I'm gonna be going over the sculpting of the face today, and then we're gonna do some airbrush work to get the paint job done here. Also, how I attach it to the costume myself. So it's gonna be a pretty lengthy build, so I want you to sit back and relax, because we're about to go wild. Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to Carvalho Creations. So today's project, since we're doing our Reagan illusion costume, I wanted to go ahead and start off with my foam head to begin with. And what I did is I took my Dremel and I just kind of carved in some of the guidelines for me to follow. Also, too, I have a reference picture here. So make sure you guys, if you're sculpting, you have reference pictures. It helps a lot when you're getting the proportions right in someone's face. So what I ended up doing was just grinding out some of the lip here because it's very different from the picture you see to the side. And I want to give that little creepy stare. That's the perfect face, I think, for this puppet. So I ground down the lips. I'm going to add on a little bit of tinfoil with some spray adhesive just to build up the facial features a little bit here on the cheeks and the jaw, because this is a very weak jaw, and Reagan's jaw with all this makeup on is just a lot more pronounced. So we're going to go ahead and do that with some foam right now. So I'm just going to use a little bit of Loctite spray adhesive and some tinfoil. And I do this process just to save some clay. Instead of having to build everything up with clay, it's nice to just be able to do this and spray it in place. So all I'm going to do is kind of follow that jaw just to build it up a little bit. I still want the curve of the jaw. I just want it to be a little more pronounced. And then I'll work in with the clay for the detail. But to start off with, I'll start with this. So I just kind of form it into place with my fingers, and then I'm going to take the spray adhesive here. I'll spray the foil itself, because sometimes this is corrosive. Anything in an aerosol can be corrosive to your styrofoam here. So I'm just going to spray the foil itself. Let it get tacky for a second. Alrighty, so now that it's tacked up a little bit, I'll just press it into place, and that'll build up the jaw. And now we'll go to the actual foam, and what we're going to be using is this air dry foam clay. Okay, so we're using black foam today. It comes in white. I just want to do the black because it'll help with the base coating. I won't have any peeling. So I'm just taking a little bit of it, and then I'm going to go right over. Now, when I start with faces, I like to get the big areas first when I'm working. So I noticed that her upper lip is a little wider. So maybe we can start there. And again, I'm following the indentations in the side of the cheek here into the face. So I want to keep those shapes as I work, and keep that shape around it. I know it looks like a mustache right now, but trust, it's gonna look very different very soon. When I'm doing these sculptures as well, I want you guys to understand, I think the first sculpture I actually did was the Dracula video. If you guys haven't seen that, definitely go watch it out. But when I'm doing the sculpting though, I'm looking at the facial features, and I noticed that her nose is a lot more pronounced and wider than this mannequin head. So we'll start there, it's the center of the face. And I'm just adding like small balls of clay at a time until I work that area to where I feel like it resembles it as much as possible. Sculpting process is actually fairly quick. Once you get started and you've done a couple of these, it's not as hard as you may think. And again, you know, it's just about adding a little bit at a time. Some of these deeper scars that she has in her nose, the bridge of the nose and the eyes and stuff, I'm going to work on those as I go. Any small scratches or details, I'll come in at the end and kind of carve them out. But for the larger ones, I can put those in now. So I also am using this set of sculpting tools to help me along the way as I create some of these more detailed little marks. In her nose, she's got some curves that come up from here. So I want to make sure I get those in there. And these little tools too are great for sculpting. They really help to sell some of the look and get these detailed pieces. So when it comes to the eyes, I like to start right around the actual eyeball itself. with small pieces of clay, and I'm rolling them up to little worm-like pieces, and I'm working on like the bags of her eyes. Right underneath the eye there's a little bag there, and I like to start from very close to the eyeball and then work my way down so I can layer on the cheeks and everything and make it look more realistic. But I want this to be pretty pronounced too, because in this rendering of her, she's got bags, real swollen, puffy looking bags. So to help this stick, I'm just taking this tool a little bit and pushing it into the styrofoam. And also with the edge of this tool here, I can go in and create little creases that you would see. Okay. This foam clay has a good working time. I would say like safely, if you're in a relatively cool area, you can work with it for about an hour and a half max before it starts to tighten up on you. And also I can start digging in some of these creases if I want to as well. Might have to add a little more foam. I'm adding just a little enough detail as I go, so I know exactly where I need to finish everything off when I finish, but I need to keep in some of these lines, these guidelines, to help me see things a little bit better. So you'll see me put in some clay and then go back and work a little bit of detail in. Also too, I don't want it to tighten up too much before I start adding detail. So I'm just using the edge of my little palette knife here, digging in for the creases in the lip and then kind of rounding the edges over. And in the Exorcist movie, you know, Regan's got super chapped lips. She's all messed up, sickly looking. And I want to definitely keep all that gore that they put into this character and this design. So really got to make sure I get these details in there. Just going to keep building little pieces at a time. That's all it takes. And it'll come together really quickly. And with this piece and this character design, this is something that's going to be such an awesome costume. So okay, I'm going to move on to the upper lids of the eye. And again, same the way I did the bottom lids, I'm just taking a little bit here. Now, so since I've done the upper lids already around the eye, I'm taking a little bigger piece of the clay. And I'm going to form this into the eyebrow. Now her eyebrow, there's no hair on it, but it's an exaggerated brow and it curves right over that lid. So do this in layers like this. I can create this very thick eyebrow Neanderthal type of ridge right over the existing detail I already placed in. And just by placing that on there, if you can see that a little bit, creates that real big ridge that you see in Regan. And then I can go back with my sculpting tool to follow the guideline that I carved in earlier and just kind of continue that on. Okay, and we'll start working in the cheeks here next. I'll grab some of this clay and I'll create this ridge that goes along the face here, and it connects to the nose and then works its way around the mouth and down. And also too, when you're doing faces like this, understand that typically there's a big difference between one side of the face to the other with people. It's not symmetrical. We're actually not symmetrical, even though it may seem that way. You got to see the subtle differences as you're sculpting to help bring that realism out. And just building from there, I'm going thinner when it comes to the center. Closer to the face, there's less flesh. And as it comes out to the cheeks, it'll flesh out a little bit more. So I like to taper off my foam so I can press it in and blend it in. I do want a crease in between them, but I don't want it to be as prominent as I have it here, just placing it on. So, and I'm trying to lose any of the artificial creases here and make everything feel natural. And again, what I do to one side, I must do to the other, just to keep everything looking really well done and thought out. Pushing the foam into the creases here and then creating more of the wrinkles where the skin meets, and then blending and losing the creases I don't want. And again, Regan's face has a lot of torturous marks all over it, so you want to keep those in there. Okay, another thing that you see in a lot of monster sculpting or creature sculpting is they have very accentuated bone structure. So I'm working the cheekbone here, accentuating that idea just like it is in the picture here. And I'm gonna continuously build upon that, keeping that face relatively wide and then blending things together as I go. I'm just using my finger to work in some of these, the points where I added more foam. I don't want it to be obvious that there's pieces of foam here, so I'm trying to work that into the skin as much as possible. And any wrinkles or anything that I lose along the way, I can always go back in with my tool and recarve those in. But I want to make sure that it feels more natural. All right, that looks good already. So I'll start to add the forehead in, just to create a nice skin that goes over everything so it's uniform. When I go to paint, you don't see the styrofoam underneath, at least in the front view. That doesn't look good. So I want to make sure that I cover as much of the styrofoam as possible. Also, too, it gives me more opportunity to create more wrinkles, more layering, and in the paint and everything, you'll see it come together really, really well, and blending all this in as well. She's gonna have a lot of hair covering the sides of the head, so I'm not too worried. I might do a little bit of ear extension here just to give more detail there, and maybe some temple work, so we'll see how that goes. All right, so pretty easy. Got the ear there. Create that inside crease a little bit more. I can work the ear out a little bit more. Now she's got a pretty gnarly cut. So to create that on the forehead here, I'm gonna run my tool down to create a nice big gouged area. And then to give it a little bit more, because there's a little bit of flesh hanging out open that way, create another little worm, a thin one, to go along that crease. And then I'll use my tool and press that in. So it gives it a little more of a ridge, a little more of a torn look. And then I can kind of blend that in together there. And in the nose as well to kind of bring that down. Okay, everybody, I just wanted to give you a little more of a detailed look at the sculpt here. It's hard to see while I was filming, but hopefully you can see how that looks now. Relatively easy. I think it took me about an hour to sculpt this. And if you can see that face right there, you can see the scar up there, or the cuts. I try to open up the cuts a little bit, the mouth and the lips and the details in the chin. All those things are super important. And the more you do in this sculpting stage, the better your paint job will look as well. So now that we have our head all sculpted out and looking good, we're gonna hit it with a base coat of like a gray color. I'm using my little airbrush tool here. You can do it by hand, like you've seen me do in a few other videos, but I have this and I haven't tried it for a while, so I thought, why not? Now, just to let you guys know, I'm using regular acrylic craft paint, and I thinned it out with some alcohol. So I chose to use this gray color as a base coat. If you look at Reagan when she's in that full makeup, it's a very gray, almost white color. So I want to do a base coat of gray so I can go back in with white and highlight, and then I can use some deeper blues and greens maybe just to give it a little shadowing around the eyes, the mouth, and all that. Just the first base coat is going to be this real nice gray color. Okay, so now that our base coat is dry, I'm going to go ahead and take like an maroon color and start doing a little bit of shading in all these wrinkles and give it a little bit of depth. And something that looks a little bit like bruising, I noticed that Reagan has a lot of bruising on her face from the possession, so kind of want to bring that to life a little bit. All right, so I mixed up a little bit of a darker color, and I'm going to go in and just deepen all these eye sockets and scars in the mouth. Now I'm basically just going over the same areas, but I'm going closer to the deepest part of the area, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to get a little bit closer and really push in the darks right in the deepest part of the eye socket, in the nose, and the creases in the mouth. Because I want this mauve color to stay, I just want this to get the depth a little bit deeper so you can see it from afar. Okay, just for one more layer of depth, I'm gonna go in with like close to black and just get the deepest points I can find. Now I plan to go back in after I get the airbrushing done and paint by hand in the cuts and creases in here, because I want the blood to drip. I want everything to look a little messy and splash. So you'll see me going after and fix up some of that. Okay, so I mixed up a little bit of like a beige color. I want to do like a light tan, and I'm just going to go over and highlight some of the areas that I think will catch the most light. So her eyebrow ridge, the nose, maybe the point of the chin and the cheeks here. So, and I put on a very light spray so I don't overdo and lose all the work I just did. So you got to be a little more careful toward the end, just because you don't want to lose all the work you just did. Now that the base coat is done for this, before I start going into the detail, I want to go ahead and add this wig. Now, this is an old beat up wig, nothing special, but I'm going to fit it on. I'm going to glue it into place, and then I'm going to airbrush on the brown for the hair, because she has like a dark brunette color hair. So I'm just going to use a little bit of spray adhesive to get this to stick on there. And if I need to go back with some hot glue, I can do that as well. But I'm just gonna saturate this as much as I can. Try not to get it on my camera here. And then also on top, let it get a little bit tacky. And then I'll put it into place. And this stuff gets tacky pretty quick. Stuck to my fingers. Now, some of this will eat up your foam a little bit, so use it with a little bit of caution. But for Reagan, this old messed up wig is gonna be perfect. So you guys can see that, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna pull some of this hair forward as well. The back's a little thin, but again, not too worried about it. I'll use some more spray adhesive and just hold it onto itself. I've been using this wig and cutting it up for a while now, so. Okay, but I like the way this looks. All right, we're just gonna start airbrushing in this hair as well. I'm gonna try not to get on the face, hopefully. So the airbrush was giving me a little bit of issue for the hair, so I'm just going to use some brown Rust-Oleum paint, and we'll throw in a little bit of black in there as well, just to break up the single color. Now, if you guys are following along and trying this at home, you can always get a black wig or a brown wig. I just happen to have this on hand. And if you followed me for long enough, you know that I use whatever I got. Okay, now we're going to use a little bit of black. Okay, just to finish off this face, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit to the wounds now. So I'm just taking a nice red, little deep red color. I'm gonna go right into the wounds. Maybe I'll add a little bit of black to that. Just make it look a little bit deeper, more realistic. It's really gonna sell this Reagan look just by pushing this color in here. The key to creating any of these characters and really selling them is this layering technique that I always talk about. It's so absolutely essential if you want to make characters look realistic and bring them to life. Can't stress it enough, you know. Certain things you cannot rush through, you can't skip, and this is definitely one of them. So now that to me looks like Reagan. What do you think? Okay, so I'm gonna add the vomit last, but I wanna get the costume all put together before I add it, because I wanna add it also to the shirt, and I wanna make sure the shading is exactly the same. So for now, this is good. I think those scars look great. And also too, I haven't shown the feet. I got these feet. Let me just back this up so you can see. I got these feet here years ago at the Dollar Tree while they still had these. And I have two of these, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to do the same thing just while I'm at it, so you can see. And again, just going in the cuts and adding this nice deep color. I actually had two of these, but they were both right feet. So I have another one. I just added a little bit of foam clay to match them up. But these will be at the end of our Reagan's feet. Okay, so then now we got the head pretty much finished. What I want to go ahead and do is work on the body. Now I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. I want this to be super lightweight, because the idea is that Reagan's going to be sitting around the side of me with her legs wrapped around my waist, and then I'll be able to puppet her from the side. I'm trying to keep everything super lightweight. I'll be using pool noodles, some foam board from the Dollar Tree, so very lightweight material that I can maneuver.
And what I did here was I have this material. Luckily enough, my wife was able to find me a cool costume that'll work for Reagan. What I did is I just took a piece of the foam board and used some spray adhesive and just glued it to the inside of this piece so she'll have like a little back to work with. So we started off with that, and then what I'm going to be doing is taking a bit of PVC pipe. Can you see that? So her head will actually sit on this PVC pipe I'll glue into place so I can maneuver her this way. Okay, and I'll show you a little bit more in a second. Okay, continuing on with this build, what I'm gonna do next is the feet here, and all I'm gonna use is pool noodle for the leg. So I have my foot attached. I just used some duct tape to attach the pool noodle to this foot directly. And then what I did is I took this pool noodle, and in the back of it, I cut out a little notch here, just so it has a little bit of bend. Because the idea is for this to wrap around, like I said earlier. I'll be using just some old pants. So I did the same thing, and I just tucked the leg right into the pants there, and you see that little bend? So this is gonna be perfect. It's gonna wrap around my waist. I'll have both the legs wrapped around my waist and attached in. Hopefully you can see that. And that'll wrap around and then attach to the torso itself. Okay, to create the arms, I roughly did the same idea I did for the legs, except this time I cut the noodle completely in half, and then I added 2 pieces of wire. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera there, just to connect them together, because what I want is I want movement. So when I manipulate the body, the arms will move. If that makes sense. So I'm gonna have the arm attached to my chest here, but as I move the torso, I wanna make sure the arm is able to bend around and not get too stiff and rigid or look unnatural. So that's why I did the wires on this one. And then again, I just taped the hand directly to the pool noodle, and then we'll adhere this to the inside of the costume when I'm finished. This is a little tricky to film, but I wanted to show you how I created this little placement for the head to rest on. Now, I wanted there to be movement in here so I can move her head back and forth because it's not Reagan without the whole twist of the head. So I want to make sure to leave that freedom in there. So what I ended up doing was taking some foam board, and see if I can get a little closer there. I cut a hole for the PVC pipe to go through. You can see it on the bottom there. And then I created this little lip that it can sit on. So it still allows me to carry the weight, but I can twist it on the inside so I can create that spinning head. Look. And then I just glued it to the inside of the collar here as well. So that way it would stay against the costume. It can rest the head on there and it doesn't slip out on me when I'm maneuvering it, but I can still twist the head around. Hopefully that makes sense. Boogies, 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 boogies. To attach the arms to the inside of the dress, all I did was took some hot glue. I peeled back the sleeve a little bit, put a bead of hot glue around the wrist, and then just glued it right into place. And then I did the same to the shoulder on the inside. Now, your hot glue is going to eat up your pool noodle, so I wrapped duct tape around it to create a little barrier, and then I put the glue on top of that. That way it didn't eat up my pool noodle. Now to attach the legs here, I just put them underneath the nightgown, and then I'm going to hot glue in the pants to the back of this foam board I have in the back here. So I'm just going to put a bead of hot glue and then attach the pants directly to that foam board, because material adheres really well to hot glue, so it's the best way to go for this. And I can zip this up here, and I'll probably cut a relief hole for my hand, but you get the idea. Hopefully you can see a little bit of this. Now her whole body's together, opposable arms, got the feet going. It's gonna look really cool. All right, so just to give you an idea of what this is gonna look like, I used some Velcro here just to attach the hand to my chest here, and then also the ankles around the bottom. I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is kind of the idea I was going for. So I have a lot of control here. I'm going to have a false arm, which I'll show you in a second, and then I have that full control of the head like I wanted as well. So let me just grab that faux arm. Made this little rough fist, so this will act as my faux arm, like blocking her as she's coming. And you'll see in a second with the whole costume together, it's gonna look awesome. But what do you think? Sock you. All right, so just to finish her off, I'm gonna add that vomit I was talking about earlier. So I'm using, green color, and we're just gonna kind of haphazardly put that in there, dripping down the chin a little bit. And then also I'm just gonna put this on the front of the dress as well. And then I wanna take my bristles and just flick them, just to give a little splatter effect as well. It's all right if it's in the hair, it's supposed to be. Okay, and I'll splatter around the costume a little bit. All right, just to sell that look. Maybe a little bit more in the hair, but I'm pretty happy with this. I think it looks great. Awesome illusion costume. Relatively easy. You guys want to see me make something, as always, let me know down in the comment section below. Definitely love making these things. So if you have any ideas or you want to see something in particular, I'm down. So let me know. Just want to give you one more detailed look at the way this came out. Tons of detail. You guys are looking to get into prop work. Definitely take your time with the stuff. The layering is what really sells this. So, and you can see, the proof is in the pudding. Check that out. That's gonna be mighty creepy. I almost forgot this, but we're gonna use a little bit more of this polyurethane, this gloss, because Reagan has she's like clammy and sweaty throughout the entire movie. So I want to go ahead and gloss her over a little bit, especially around the vomit. But just give her that like sweaty kind of appearance. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this in the hair as well. It'll stiffen the hair, but if it gives it a little bit of a shine, a little bit of that greasy look that she has, that's what I'm going for. So just going to spray that in there as well. I'll do the same to the hands and the feet. We'll be done. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of our video today. I hope you guys enjoyed our Reagan illusion costume build. This was pretty interesting to make. I've never made an illusion costume, but I've seen a ton of these. I just wanted to give it a go, so I thought this worked out pretty well. Actually pretty comfortable and cool, not as heavy as you might think. So I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw today. The sculpting, you don't have to be a master sculptor to make one of these either. You can always just put a mask on a foam head and that'll work just as well. I just wanted to push myself a little bit and see what I can do. Plus, I had a request from one of you to make Reagan, so I thought I would kill two birds with one stone and try it all together, and it worked out pretty well for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed what you saw. If you guys want to see me make something else in the future, whether it be a character or creature from a movie, or maybe your twisted imagination, please write me down in the comment section below. I'd love to try it out and bring that to you as well. So I hope you guys are enjoying what you're seeing here at Carvalho Creations. We're going to continue to make these, so please stay tuned. But until next time, keep building things, stay creative, and don't forget to go wild. I'm Gio from Carvalho Creations, and I'll see you next time. Hey! Let's see spooky, 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 spooky legs. Ah, it's hot, I'm sweating. Stop it.